When a man has to mention my name 76 times in a speech, that means he's in trouble. Now, I have to tell you, he's a different guy. He looks different than he used to. He acts different than he used to. He's even slower than he used to be. So I don't know, but when he mentions my name that many times, I guess I should be complimented.
What is justice? Short definition of it.
Well, I think we've defined it pretty well in our Constitution. And that is that all men are created equal, and they're entitled to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Think about it.
Biden's own academic career was unimpressive. He repeated the third grade, earned all C's and D's in his first 3 semesters at the University of Delaware.
Come on, man.
I've done some dumb things, and I'll do dumb things again. Done some dumb things as a senator, done some dumb things as a lawyer. Ladies and gentlemen,
Joe Biden is a dummy.
I've been dumb.
Joe Biden is not playing with a full deck. All I can say is that the fake news just doesn't get it, do they?
You made this comment earlier in the campaign about Joe Biden. Let's take a listen to that.
Every time he comes on stage or they turn to him, I'm like, Joe, can you get it out? Let's get the words out, Joe. You kind of feel bad for him.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You have
to watch somebody on stage
that's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses. President Trump left Walter Reed Army Hospital after his annual physical, and now we'll see if his affinity for McDonald's cheeseburgers and his disdain for exercise. The president doesn't look healthy, and what we know of his diet and exercise habits, he doesn't lead a particularly healthy lifestyle. Diagnosing politicians from afar. The president doesn't look healthy, and what we know of his diet and exercise habits.
That this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel sorry for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure it was from a place of concern. We all believe that. Lara Trump, thank you so much.
What always shocks me is just how dumb the Trump campaign thinks that people are. Here we have Lara Trump saying with a straight face that she never knew that Joe Biden has a stutter. So for this guy's campaign to be suggesting that his opponent is in the midst of cognitive decline is a level of projection that I hadn't thought humanly possible. And beyond the blatant hypocrisy of the Trump campaign accusing someone else of being in cognitive decline, the fact is that Joe Biden's been preaching a steady and consistent message for months now.
Knowing what I know now, obviously, I feel tremendous humility about my coverage, that Lara Trump interview, for example, etc. She saw something that I did not see at the time. 100%.
Consider too that Lara Trump is in no position to be diagnosing anyone. She has a degree in the pastry arts from the French Culinary Institute in New York. So she should probably leave the diagnoses to the professionals.
Do you want to apologize to Lara Trump now?
I've already apologized to her. I called her months ago.
And what did she say?
And she said, she has said this publicly, so I feel fine sharing it. She said that she would never mock anybody's stutter. I called Lara Trump and I said, you were right.
She was totally right. That's the thing, because when I watched that clip, and I'm giving voice to what a lot of people watching the show are feeling, Jake, I feel angry because she was right. And not only did you not allow her to make her comments, but you seemed to try to humiliate her. You had a hostility toward the position, but she was totally right.
And figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline.
And then you lectured her on how she was in no position to diagnose cognitive decline, which you guys do at length including on page 4 of your book. You describe at length his cognitive decline, which is all she tried to do with you. But you had such a visceral reaction to her. And my feeling is that's because you didn't want to hear it.
Lara, do you think Jake Tapper owes you an apology?
Well, you can see for yourself in that clip, it wasn't just enough for him to deny the cognitive decline that was obvious to everybody with eyes and ears in the United States of America and quite frankly around the world, Jesse. I'm expecting a full-throated public apology at any point. I'm holding my breath from Jake Tapper and maybe from Captain Sully as well. But this is the reason that the legacy media has lost the trust of the American people. Only about 25% of the country believes these people anymore and thinks they can actually trust them.
This is also in the context of October 2020. A very intense time. People on the Biden side are saying crazy things about Trump. People on the Trump side are saying crazy things about Biden, including Don Jr. suggesting that Joe Biden is a pedophile.
These kids smell so special, but I'm a creep. I'm a pedo.
Her comments have aged well. My comments have aged poorly. I own that.
But I'm telling you, like, over here in my ecosphere, we were covering all of these. It wasn't just falling down. It was getting lost. It was some of the stuff you report in your book. We knew and we were reporting on, like the multi-jump cuts in the videos of him.
No.
It's just,
Megyn,
well, that's
Megyn,
what happened.
if we're going to do this, let's just stick to the facts here, okay? When there is a damaging
Jake,
report.
That's what I've been doing all along.
I'm talking about what you just said.
Didn't miss the biggest story of the century when it comes to presidential politics, and one of us did.
Okay.
You know, you've watched the coverage since it came out that you wrote this book. There's a legion of articles about how comparing you in some instances to like OJ. Instead of if I did it, this is if I hid it. That like you are not the right messenger to bring the story about the cover up because you helped, you allowed it, and you likely did that out of a desire to help Joe Biden and hurt Donald Trump. You didn't want to do anything that might improve Trump's chances.
Oh, shit! Oh, shit! Oh, shit! No! That is not happening right now!
I will say there are channels in which lies are told, and there are channels in which facts are told, and people who want the lies, they don't come here. They go to a different channel.
I do not think that that is accurate. I do not think that that is true at all.
In June of 2022, this show did a full 2-hour program on his cognitive decline.
I heard it.
It was. I know we want to pretend. I'm mentioning the Wall Street Journal as a courtesy, but those of us on this side of the aisle had been reporting in depth on his multiple problems and the obvious lies we were being told for years. For years. You really want the audience to believe you were fooled?
And then the next thing we knew, this angry mob of insurrectionists was following the president's lead and going into Congress to try to stop it. We didn't even know how bad it was. I mean, we knew it was bad, but then we started hearing about people who had been killed, including Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick. And, you know, within a day or so, we started seeing really bad video, and that I have been in a bubble thinking that this could not happen in the United States.
What was their other mission? To protect Joe Biden. They had to protect him. You know, there was a time where political journalists said to themselves, we got to make sure they're ready to be president by being really, really hard on them. That's how they kind of made excuses for themselves. We all saw that he's very weak. He was very weak during the campaign. Sometimes he just seemed totally, lost. And unfortunately, he seems really lost now, and the stakes are so much higher.
What do you mean I was fooled? I'm not saying I was fooled. I'm saying we all saw these moments before the camera.
Your commentary on your show, Jake, consistently ran in one direction. Occasionally, you would ask some tough questions.
That's true.
I mean, here you are in September 2023 saying that Biden was sharp mentally. September of 2023.
No,
you
hold on.
said,
Hold on.
You said he's sharp mentally. I think the question is physically, right? He's sharp mentally. And then you pointed out that his opponent, Donald Trump, was only a couple of years younger than he was. There are many examples where you're doing that kind of coverage.
Okay, so let's be honest and full about what you're talking about.
There's no problem with honesty on this show.
Okay, I suppose in retrospect, I say again, I wish I had been more aggressive. I do.
Yeah.
But our reporting suggests, and like I said, we've talked to more than 200 people, Democratic insiders, that the real deterioration of President Biden, and yes, there was a degression or regression, whatever you want to call it, deterioration since 2015. But it really started to intensify in the summer of 2023 when
There was a ton of news leading into that debate in that month. And we looked back at your coverage and found that you ignored it. Not only did you ignore the Jackie Walorski moment when you had him 13 days later, but you ignored the freeze up that he had at the Juneteenth celebration. You ignored what happened at the G7 when he wandered off and Giorgia Meloni, Prime Minister of Italy, had to go find him. You ignored the freeze up at the George Clooney LA fundraiser. You didn't cover it. You only covered it after the debate, after George Clooney wrote his op-ed. Jake, nobody made you do that. There was your network at every turn was telling us those were, quote, cheap fakes.
Cheap fake videos, really? All the Democrats, all the media, they've all been lying to you and to the American people for 4+ long years. But after last night's debate, well, the gig is up. Not because of the truth, which is they've known about Joe Biden's cognitive and mental decline or the fact that he has been a terrible president, but because they may lose in November and the polls are showing that. And now they're going to get worse.
And you were not combating that narrative. CNN was actively misleading us on what our very eyes were showing us. That's the truth. That's the record.
I will acknowledge that after I was named co-moderator of the debate, I tried to make sure that my coverage was fairly vanilla, both about Trump and about Biden, because I just wanted to get to the debate. And, the Biden people and the Trump people, I'm kind of frankly surprised that either one of them agreed to have me as a moderator because both sides disliked me so much. But yeah, I remember that moment. And I remember that moment, the glitch at the immigration event, and not getting much attention outside of conservative media at all. And Alex and I are here to say that conservative media was right and conservative media was correct, and that there should be a lot of soul searching, not just among me, but among the legacy media to begin with, all of us, for how this was covered or not covered sufficiently. 100%. I'm not here to defend coverage that I've already acknowledged I wish I could do differently.
Joe's not going to be running the government. He's just going to be sitting in a home someplace, and people are going to be running it for him.
I should probably go home. All right, Chuck, thank you very much.
All right, it's Chris, but anyway.
I just did Chris.
Yeah.